Nobody likes me.
He's the baddest man in hip-hop.
Hey, yo, the bottom line is, I'm a crook with a deal. If my record don't sell, I'm a rob and steal.
Who hustled his way to the top.
Don't come to a fight with Fifth with a knife. You better come with your guns, because he is gonna destroy you.
I was like, wow, this guy's gonna make a lot of enemies.
I aim straight for your head.
This guy's crazy.
Don't push me.
But for 50 Cent, success didn't come easy. His mother's murder was just the beginning.
I found her laying dead.
Somebody put something in a drink, and then they turned the gas on.
Dealing crack, he played a dangerous game until he found a new hustle. Music.
He was always confident. That's what struck me about him. He knew he was gonna blow.
Bringing his street edge to the rap world, 50 Cent took on all challengers.
50 just punches him in his eye. At that point, I believe, is when Josh started to be sitting down like a woman. He started being a man.
Collecting enemies, he became a marked man.
People were coming after him because they felt he was such a threat.
They put the money on his head, and that's when everybody started getting scared.
And 9 bullets nearly ended it all.
It happened that fast.
I thought he was dead.
50 came out the other side, stronger and more determined than ever.
I've never allowed my fear to limit me.
What it made him was a monster. Nothing's gonna stop him.
Go, Charlie. It's your birthday.
Turning his anguish into fame and fortune.
Other rapper you know got his own beverage. 50 Cent, that's my name.
Never afraid, never backing down.
If Kanye West sells more records than 50 Cent, I'll no longer write music.
50 Cent has lived by his own notorious words. Get rich or die trying.
I'm addicted to success. It's absolutely my vice.
This is his story behind the music. It's a raucous night in California, and 50 Cent is about to hit the stage at the Bamboozle Fest.
I'm nervous.
Headlining a rock festival might seem strange for a hip-hop icon, but that's the kind of power 50 Cent wields.
It's very rewarding when you make the right music. It feels so good. I'm so high when the music is right.
50 savors moments like these. They're a reminder of where he is and how far he's come.
I've never allowed my fear to limit me. I believe you can will your way in a good situation. Go out and make things happen.
50 Cent was born Curtis James Jackson III on July 6, 1975 in Jamaica, Queens. His mother, Sabrina, was just 15. He never knew his father.
I asked my mother one time, we was in the park. I saw a little boy throwing a football back and forth with his father. And I said, well, I don't got no father, Mommy. She said, because you was special. He was born to the Immaculate Conception. Like Jesus, boy. Now go play.
Sabrina moved out of the house shortly after Curtis was born. He was raised by his grandparents, who had 9 children of their own.
He was a special child. At least I thought so. He was a very happy little boy. He was kind of like my son, because I had raised him with my other kids. But he was just the little weasel that was in the bunch.
Curtis's mom wasn't around much. She was a drug dealer on the streets of Southside Jamaica, one of New York's roughest neighborhoods.
She didn't see public assistance as an option. So she did what she had to do to take care of me, and I was hustling.
It wasn't talked about like, you know, we knew for sure that she was dealing drugs, but we knew that she had large sums of money.
She spoiled him. Every time she come to see him, she would bring him a lot of presents.
My mom was everything to me. Every time I seen her, it was Christmas. So I associated everything good with my mom's coming.
But one day when Curtis was 8, his mom didn't show up for a family visit.
We knew something was wrong. We went over to her apartment to see what was going on.
When I went in the house, I found her laying dead.
Someone put something in her drink, and then they turned the gas on. She spent a few days in the space that she was in after she passed away, so her body was all decomposed by the time they got to her. I remember my grandmother explaining it like she's not gonna come back. She's in a better place. And I didn't understand that at that point.
Well, he was a little boy, baby boy. You can't tell a child like that nothing much. He had went to the funeral and everything, but he didn't know what was going on. But I could tell he missed his mother.
The way he dealt with it, he would just act out destructively, break things and get angry a lot.
By the time Curtis was 12, he was following in his mother's footsteps as her friends showed him the ropes.
He saw the drug dealers with a lot of money and in flashing clothes, and he wanted to emulate them.
Nice places to stay, nice cars, nice jewelry. They appeared to have the actual life that I wanted. From their perspective, they were helping me. They go, well, I'm gonna give you this. You know what to do with this? And it's 3.5 grams. So from 3 to 6, when my grandparents thought I was in the after-school program, I was hustling.
I know 50 is hustling his whole life. That's how I know him, as Boo Boo. When he was 12, he was on the block with like guys that were 17, 18. Everybody knew Boo Boo. Like, what is this little kid doing out here with the wolves?
They call it Crack Alley, Jamaica, Queens.
In the late 80s, South Side was the epicenter of New York's crack epidemic. Curtis cooked it at his friend's house, stashed it in his room, then sold it.
Everybody around us, like all my friends, that's what they did. Cook it up, bag it up. You might make $1,000 one day, and then you might have your slow days when you make $100.
I was standing there with an entrepreneur spirit, and I had to be aggressive, real aggressive.
Curtis did what it took to survive in the neighborhood. To make himself a more imposing presence on the street, he joined a youth boxing program.
I used to get my ass kicked a lot. I went to the boxing gym. I learned something there. Go right across the street and try it. And start the altercation.
Like, I actually seen him break somebody's jaw before. And that's when everybody really knew, like, 50 could fight.
Everybody respected him. And if you didn't, he would make you.
To further defend himself, 50 got his hands on a gun.
And I used it a bunch of times. I ain't hit a lot of people with it, but I used that because they knew I would shoot it. It changed their whole perspective on me based on that.
I saw his lifestyle start to change. When he was in the house with us, we saw Curtis, but I've heard stories on how aggressive he was in the street. Like two different people.
When he was 14, Curtis was arrested for bringing drugs to school. A judge sentenced him to rehab, where he quickly learned how to hustle the system.
I never really indulged in the usage of drugs, but they teach you like the 12 steps, and I had to kind of act as if to get out of it. It works if you work it, so work it. Hi, my name is Curtis Jackson, and I'm an addict.
At 17, Curtis was busted again when cops searched his home and found heroin, cocaine, and $15,000 in cash.
He was running wild at that time. His grandfather tried to discipline him, but felt that he should have done more.
You can teach a kid to be the best that is in the world. But if he don't take it in, it ain't gonna do him no good.
That probably was one of the biggest disappointments for my grandparents, to see that I had went into that lifestyle, because that's how they lost my mom.
The charges could have sent him to prison for 9 years. But as a teenager facing his first felony, he was offered an alternative. Shock incarceration.
Hit it, go, hit it,
6 months in a military-style boot camp.
I think it definitely changed him. He knew more. He knew the system. He knew how things worked. Very smart guy.
I'm a part of the success rate of the shock program.
It works. It hurts.
You see, it depends on how you look at things. I slipped back into my ways after the actual program. but it worked for me because I've never been incarcerated since.
Curtis went back to dealing, but he knew his luck would run out eventually.
Everybody hustling thinks they're better than the last guy that did it. Somehow or another, they feel like they're gonna stop right before Scarface gets shot. You know what I mean? And it just doesn't work that way.
I had to find the buried treasure, so grams I had to measure.
It was time for a radical change of plans. Inspired by rappers who turned their gritty street stories into cold, hard cash, Curtis came up with a new hustle.
I decided I was gonna write music for a living.
He told me that his probation officer had suggested that he goes into rapping.
1, 2, 3, and here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Then one day in 1996, he had a chance meeting with Run DMC's Jam Master Jay at a Manhattan nightclub.
I kind of hustled my way into a situation with Jay. I didn't have nothing. I went straight into talking to him like I knew how to do it.
I think it was the way 50 approached him. He just liked the way he said he's going to be big.
And he was like, all right, well, stop by and hear what you got.
Curtis recorded a rough demo track for Jay.
It just went on and on and on. And so he was like, yo, what's the hook?
What Jay heard was raw, but very real. Seeing potential, he signed Curtis to his label. And just like that, the 21-year-old crack dealer had a new calling.
He told me he was working with a famous rapper. I said, you sure that's what you want to be? So he said yes.
Coming up, 50 Cent goes on the attack.
I say it now and never again. We ain't buddies, we ain't partners, and we damn sure ain't friends.
And pays a heavy price.
You don't know if you're actually gonna survive it or not.
50 Cent, that's my name.
And later, he blows away a hip-hop icon.
I was like, yo, this 50, I quit. I literally wanted to quit rapping at that point.
When Behind the Music continues.